There are moments on a trip when you turn a corner, sometimes literally, and something completely unexpected stops you in your tracks. We had just left the Batwa community, still carrying everything that visit had stirred in us. And as we drove through the villages towards Lake Bunyonyi, we spotted something that made us slow right down. A bicycle, built entirely out of wood. Not a single piece of metal, just timber, shaped and fitted together with incredible precision. We continued on with our journey, but stopped again a little further along. Terraced fields climbing up the hillsides in this extraordinary patchwork of greens. Rolling hills as far as you could see in every direction. By the time we pulled into Lake Bunyonyi Overland Resort, we were spent. The gorilla trek had taken everything out of us and the bumpy roads had done the rest. We were ready to have a break. Lake Bunyonyi sits between Kisoro and Kabale, and it's known as a place of many little birds, with over 200 species found in the vicinity. We had dinner by the water that evening, watching small wooden boats drift slowly across the surface in the fading light. We went to bed, glad we could have a bit of a break. When we woke up the next morning and looked out, the lake was wrapped in a low morning fog. We started with breakfast by the water. Our guide Blair came to collect us and walked us down to the lake's edge. Our traditional dugout canoe was waiting for us.
No crocodiles, no hippos, no snakes, no behavior.
That's good. I've heard it's very, very, very deep.
Yes. The deepest point of the lake measures 900 meters.
Wow.
Say hi, Brian.
The pace of the whole trip had finally come down a notch, and we were grateful for every minute of it. If you've never travelled by dugout canoe, there's a particular kind of peace that's so hard to describe. Shannon helped with the paddling. I even had a go. We glided across to a little cove on the far side of the lake, and as we came in close to shore, a bird perched right near the dock sang to us, like it was welcoming us. And then we noticed the reeds. These beautiful yellow birds, that look like weavers, were busy constructing a nest right there beside the water, weaving the grass with their beaks in this meticulous, almost architectural way. We got out of the canoe and were led up into the village, and that's where Blair's surprise revealed itself. The local community was going to show us how to make porridge beer.
So this is
Porridge.
the porridge.
Yeah.
So is it oats? Oats?
it sorghum, wasn't it?
Sorghum.
Yeah, it comes from sorghum.
Sorghum.
Yeah, the one we grow here.
Yes.
It was so Guinea-Bissau. So this is it is having 3 days only. It is still sweet.
So you cook it up. Cook it?
Yeah, we first boil water, then we mix with the flour.
Yes.
Yes.
Traditional banana and sorghum beer, brewed in an old way, with the whole process demonstrated right in front of us. It was fascinating. The preparation, the fermentation, the way knowledge like this gets passed through generations without ever being written down. And it was 8 o'clock in the morning. The community, for the record, were already partaking. Ah, beer. We climbed back into the canoe to return across the lake and found we had some company. Our guide's wife and young daughter joined us for the crossing, which was a perfect ending to the morning. This part of the trip, Uganda, the forests, the communities, the gorillas, the lake, had given us so much more than we had anticipated. The drive back toward Kigali was long, but it was beautiful and gave us some time to process. At one point, we passed a man on a bicycle carrying what seemed like an impossible load. I lost count of how many times on this trip we watched somebody transport something on a bike that I wouldn't know how to load into a car. And then we were back in Kigali, and there was one more place we needed to go. One place we'd been mentally preparing ourselves for since we first planned this trip. The Kigali Genocide Museum. I'm not going to try and give you a full account of what we saw and read and heard inside those walls. Some experiences aren't meant to be narrated. This was one of them. We spent hours there, reading, listening, standing quietly in rooms that held the weight of history in a way that's simply indescribable. We left in silence. And I think that silence is the most honest thing I can offer you here. Rwanda has rebuilt itself in a way that is extraordinary. The warmth of the people, the pride in their country, the ambition for the future, it all coexists with a memory of what happened. That's not a contradiction, that's resilience. We came to East Africa prepared to be awed by the wildlife. But what we're carrying home with us is something bigger than that. The Batwa singing us a welcome, the carver outside the park gates, and the quiet museum that holds one of the heaviest stories on earth and still stands in hope. We'll be back.